How did your journey start?
The journey into optometry actually started on a very personal note for me. I had an uncle who was diagnosed with glaucoma.
How is optometry in Ghana different than optometry in US?
Before you get into optometry school, you need very good grades from high school. We've gone to communities where we've seen very advanced cases of macular degeneration. We've seen advanced cases of. I'd like to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you to my mentor back in Ghana. His name is Dr. Kojo Kufo.
What is your core research?
My research basically focuses on developing and applying high-resolution ophthalmic imaging modalities like adaptive optics. We can send to these communities just to help diagnose their conditions very early. Whatever opportunity comes your way, always be prepared as well, because if you're not prepared and opportunity comes, you will not be able to make any impact. So just shoot your shot whenever you get a chance.
Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. A quote by Carl Sagan. Hello everyone and welcome to Nerdy Optometrist, a podcast channel for all things eye care, and this is your host Ukti Vora. Before we dive into this yet another amazing episode, please don't forget to follow my channel and catch all the episodes on your favorite platform. With that, I have a pleasure and honor to introduce our guest for today. Today's guest represents the powerful intersection of clinical care, research, and global impact. Joining us is Dr. Samson Darrah from Ghana. He is a trained optometrist and a bioengineering PhD student at the University of Washington School of Medicine, where his research combines high-resolution retinal imaging and genomic sequences to better understand and diagnose retinal anomalies, particularly focused on inherited retinal diseases. His work has been published in leading journals like JAMA Ophthalmology and Ophthalmology Science and presented at major conferences including ARVO and American Academy of Optometry. Before beginning his doctoral journey, Dr. Samson practiced and taught optometry in Ghana, an experience that shaped his commitment to bridging patient care with scientific innovation. He is also the founder and executive director of Eye Care Network International, a non-profit mobilizing more than 250 volunteers to deliver eye care outreach, education, and support to underserved communities. Through his work in research, clinical care, and global health leadership, Dr. Samson is helping create new pathways for optometrists and engaging in research and mentorship and creating a global eye care impact. It's such an honor to learn his interesting journey, and I really, like all my other guests, I really want to decode how you're doing this all. And with that, a very warm welcome to the Nerdy family.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the amazing introduction. Like you said, my name is Samson Darrah, and it's an honor and a privilege to share the same space with you. Watch your videos a couple of times, but I never imagined I'll be invited one day to be here. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course, and I'm going to do a huge shout out for anyone that's listening. This is his first podcast. So I'm very excited and honored that he's starting his podcasting journey with me. And I just was talking to him offline that this is probably going to be one of many with the kind of work that he's doing in eye care. I'm sure there'll be more people learning from your journey, trying to kind of invite you and get your story out there. So on record, this is the first podcast that you're doing.
Thank you so much once again. Before we continue, I want to point out the fact that today is World Optometry Day.
Yes.
So I want to use this opportunity to acknowledge and recognize and celebrate all wonderful optometrists out there for all the impacts they are making in the lives of our patients. And thank you so much for all you are doing. We see you, we celebrate you. And a big hats off to everybody.
Absolutely, yes. And then that was literally going to be the next statement, that it was a better day than recording this episode on the World Optometry Day. I'm sure it is special. And I'm glad we think alike. So
yeah, exactly.
So I'm going to try and kind of go back and understand how did your journey start? My favorite question is, was optometry something that you had always thought about? Was it an accident that you kind of, discovered this profession? Tell me, how did your journey in optometry started?
The journey into optometry actually started on a very personal note for me. I had an uncle who was diagnosed with glaucoma, and he became blind in one eye. And so seeing how the condition impacted him, and not only him, but my family as well, drew me to optometry. So at the time, I just wanted to be in a field or be in a position where I could help prevent such conditions from happening to others. And so as I went through optometry school and beginning my clinical training, my perspective began to change about a whole lot of things. I began seeing patients with even advanced conditions. I saw cases like Stargardt disease. I've seen cases of retinitis pigmentosa. I've seen cases of even retinoblastoma, and there was very little we could do. And so, when I say little we could do, I mean in terms of diagnosis and treatment, coming from a developing country like Ghana. And so that was very like it didn't sit well with me. So it made me realize that beyond clinical care, there is more we can do to better understand these conditions and find new ways of coming up with technologies or like strategies that can help us diagnose and manage these patients. And so that was how I started optometry. And now, with my clinical background, I'm in the field of bioengineering. So basically, I'm combining my clinical background with some engineering principles to better understand these conditions and help address some of these issues. I don't know if I've answered your question.
No, no, you absolutely did. And I think it's pretty similar even for myself and a couple of other guests that I had on the podcast that we
Mhm.
didn't even know that this profession existed. Like even for me back in India, I just bumped into it and then there's no going back. It's such a beautiful profession and we do so much that, we feel we've barely scratched the surface. There's so much more that you can do and kind of provide good vision care to the patients and people we love. So I'm going to try and before we get into your PhD and the work that you're doing here, I want to understand if you could spend a couple of minutes talking about how is optometry in Ghana different than optometry in US or the practice in US? If you could highlight some differences.
Okay. So first of all, I'll start with the training from optometry school, and then what happens after school. So optometry school in Ghana, and before you get into optometry school, you need like very good grades from high school. So from high school, you apply directly into the optometry program. In We have two universities in Ghana who that offers this program. So you apply to any of these schools from high school. If your grades are good and you pass the interview, you get accepted into the program. It's a 6 year program, and the first 3 years are basically more of theoretical. But after the first 3 years, you do a white coat ceremony and then you start more clinical experience. As compared to what I've learned in the US, they have like a slightly different system. Based on what I know, you first of all need to have a pre optometry degree or a pre med degree, and you are expected to take some courses like biochemistry, among others. And upon completion of your pre-med degree, that is, or pre-optometry degree, that is when you apply for optometry, which is another 4 years. So here in the US, the total duration for optometry is about 8 years, but in Ghana it's just 6 years. Here in the US, after completing your training, you have to do residency for a period of time. In Ghana, we do something called national service. So you try to serve the nation for a period of 1 year, and then you can proceed to be on your own without like being under any optometrist for supervision. In terms of clinical practice, I don't see any big difference between what we do in Ghana and what is currently done in the US. I know some states in the US are now advocating for optometrists to perform some minor surgical procedures, but that is not the case in Ghana yet. But aside that, I think every other thing is similar. We prescribe drugs, we diagnose patients. The system here is much more advanced, but it's basically the same scope of practice, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's fantastic and so good to know that, especially that you have so much opportunity to kind of serve your patients and it's beyond like you can do diagnosis as well as treatment. I
Mhm,
understand there is limited treatment available, but
mhm.
whatever is available, you are able to kind of provide
Yeah,
the same scope of.
exactly, exactly.
And I also love the part of doing some community services. I think
Mhm.
that's a great part of giving back to the community and being attached to your country, to your people before you kind of head out and start your own practice. I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
very beautiful.
yeah.
So you were practicing in Ghana, correct?
I practiced in Ghana for a year before I moved to the US for my PhD.
So what led you to think about doing the PhD and the transition? Like what was your inspiration for doing that?
I think my biggest inspiration came from some cases I've seen during clinical outreach that I embark on with Eye Care Network. We've gone to communities where we've seen like very advanced cases of macular degeneration. We've seen even some inherited eye conditions. And the sad aspect of the whole thing is that in Ghana, we don't have a very structured system for diagnosing patients with inherited retinal conditions. Here in my lab, I'm able to do genetic sequencing, but this technology is not readily available for like the ophthalmic population in Ghana. So it's very unfortunate that there's little we can do for patients who have inherited retinal conditions. So I've seen some of these cases in Ghana. Diagnosis was very difficult because you can clinically diagnose these patients, but you can't just diagnose them clinically without confirming molecularly. And so all of these observations that I've made prompted me that I believe there is more we can do to be able to develop new technologies that we can provide to these underserved communities to be able to like help our patients. So that was what drew me to research. I mean, some other factors play a role, but this was my big motivation for wanting to pursue bioengineering, where I could develop new technologies for diagnosing retinal conditions or to help in advancing the treatment and management of retinal conditions.
Going from clinical practice to kind of
Mhm,
going into bioengineering research in a completely different country,
mhm.
tell me what were your challenges or what are your current challenges?
I've struggled in the beginning, especially because I don't have an engineering background. The US PhD system is structured that you have to take some courses alongside your research. And it's not surprising that almost all my classmates are bioengineers. Like all of them have engineering background. All of them had some experience working in an engineering field, as compared to me, who has a very pure clinical background. So I struggled in my first few months with some coursework. What my colleagues study in just like a few days, I have to use weeks to study.
Hmm.
And it was really challenging. I had to put in like times two, times three of the work. But overall, I've been able to like I'm doing my best, and I think I've actually done my best. I'm among the best students in my department, and yeah. Aside that, I think most of my research that I do here, I've never done such research in Ghana. I've never done genetic sequencing research. I've never used adaptive optics technology. I've never done optoretinography. There's a whole lot of high resolution imaging modalities I use in my lab that I've never used here. But thanks to my advisors, Dr. Dibashi Mustafi and Dr. Ramkumar Sabesan, they gave me like a very good opportunity to learn, and they keep supporting me in every way possible. So I'm not struggling as I used to when I first joined the program, really contributing to the lab and doing my best. And so yeah, that's that's what I think.
No, that's great. And I actually wanted to highlight and point out that the fact that you mentioned, right, like your colleagues are coming from
Mhm,
some engineering background. But
mhm.
I also want to talk about your clinical strength, like your understanding of eye would be much better, or say retina
Yeah.
or genetics would be much better than people who
Mhm,
probably understand algorithms better.
mhm.
And that turn out to be more strength for
I
you?
think that is my biggest strength in my lab and in my department and wherever I find myself. Yeah, most of my colleagues just know the technical aspect,
Yes.
but for me, I am learning the technical aspect, and I have the background in terms of clinic already, so it makes my understanding very easy.
Mm.
And yeah, it puts me like some steps ahead of my colleagues. Not saying I'm better than them, but I'm able to understand concepts, and it makes my I don't know how to explain it, but it makes my understanding very easy for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure we all can relate to it because, and the reason I wanted to highlight and emphasis more on that because anytime we are trying to learn something different, for
Mhm,
example, when I moved into United States, I did like my MBA, right?
mhm.
Though we are not hardcore business people, right? I did practice back at home in India. We only did optometry, but we forget when we are running a clinic or when we are running an optical shop along with it, you are running a business. So there are so many
Agree.
translating knowledge that you can kind of bring in. And then
That is
when I moved into the industry, for me, my biggest strength, as you likely said, right? I might not be great in, say, numbers at that time, but I'm very good with understanding what the customer would want or what a patient
Mhm.
would want and how
Mhm.
to build a product and the small nuances that you can pick along the way. So I think your clinical strength definitely helps you stay, at
It
par.
is. It is. It is. The good thing is that I'm advised by two professors. One is an ophthalmologist and one is an engineer. So this is like a very good balance for me. If I don't understand the technical aspect of my work, I reach out to my PI who is into the technical aspect. If I need some clarification on some conditions or some case reports or whatever I don't understand in terms of like the clinical aspect, I just reach out to my advisor who is an ophthalmologist, and then he explains the concepts to me. So I think this has really made my journey very smooth. Having two PIs who have different training and different backgrounds has like really helped me. And given that I'm also a clinician, it's like making me it has placed me in a good position to contribute to ongoing projects in the two labs I'm working in.
Also, I want to understand, like you told me about like your journey and the fact that,
Mhm.
there was this initial struggle. But I also want to talk about one other strength that I want to see and understand from your end. How did your training in another country
Mhm.
help you to be more, say, persistent? I mean, how has those training from two different countries shaped your current, career or like the way you work, the way you balance things out? If you can highlight a little more about that.
I'd like to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you to my mentor back in Ghana. His name is Dr. Kojo Kufo. I met him during my second year in optometry school. And like I said earlier, optometry in Ghana is a 6-year program. So meeting him in my second year, I've had the opportunity to engage in research from my second year in optometry school till today. I still collaborate with him on projects. So I got very exposed to research and all this like everything that goes into research at a very early stage in my training. So I believe that gave me the opportunity to learn a whole lot of things that is helping me today. It's making my transition very smooth, and yeah, I think that was really the foundation that has built me into who I am today. So yeah.
Have you had this experience of being a little more creative because probably say some things or some processes are done a certain way in United States versus it might be a little different and maybe easier or difficult in Ghana, and you kind of were able to relate the similarities or differences in the processes? Have you experienced any of that?
I'm not sure what you mean, but if you could give me an example.
Example could be say the way your mentors were supporting back in Ghana,
Mm-hmm,
right? Like you mentioned that you had ability to meet your mentor in the second year, the
mm-hmm,
exposure of communicating with people back home, and
mm-hmm.
the practice that you evolved there was very easy for you to translate. Even though you are in another country with different people, it's basically giving you the confidence. So you're bringing the same thing from Ghana to United States.
The good news is that my advisors here are very supportive. I can say it like with all confidence, they are very supportive. I've never experienced this kind of support coming from professors who are very busy. You know, they are very busy people, but they make time for me every week. Every week, they try to like understand what I'm doing. They want to know if there are any challenges I'm facing. They want to know if they could help in any way, you know. And it's made my transition very smooth. So yeah, that's what I think.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit more about your work. And I really would like to understand, like, what is your core research and how is your work helping to bridge the gap between retinal imaging and genetics? If you could give a little high level overview about your work and research.
My research basically focuses on developing and applying high resolution ophthalmic imaging modalities like adaptive optics, optoretinography, optical coherence tomography, OCT, fundus autofluorescence, any kind of high resolution imaging modality alongside genetic sequencing technologies like long read sequencing, just to better understand retinal anomalies. So, what I try to do is try to correlate phenotype to genotype to just understand what is going on in patients with inherited retinal conditions. So, for instance, a patient can come into a lab or a clinic, and what I do is I draw their blood, I send it upstairs to the lab, I extract DNA from their blood, and we try to sequence the DNA and to understand what is going on with these patients. At the same time, we send these patients to an imaging lab where we take high resolution images of their retina, specifically the photoreceptor layer, because since most of these inherited retinal anomalies affect the photoreceptor layer. So we image them with OCT, fundus autofluorescence, FAF, we do adaptive optics, we do photoreceptor function imaging, and that is optoretinography, and just try to correlate all this phenotype findings to their genotype to see like what is going on with them. So that is basically what I do.
That's
It sounds like very simple, or I don't know, but
No, it
it's
sounds a lot. It
highly
doesn't sound simple
complicated.
at all. I'm telling you from the person who has not been very clinical, but it definitely sounds a lot. And
Mhm.
I am sure this was just mainly for people who are listening to this episode and who would like to learn a little more about things that you're working on and like, how you're working to put in your clinical knowledge, eye care knowledge, along with this bioengineering degree, right? So that's
Mhm.
the whole reason for me to kind of bring it up and give a little more depth of what work you're doing.
Okay.
I'm going to switch gears and I want to understand a little more of the non-profit work that you do as well, because I think that's also a lot, and I really don't know how you manage your time. How do you do it?
It's crazy.
But tell me a little more about your Eye Care Network International and what you do there.
So iCare Network International is a registered nonprofit based in Ghana that provides medical care, particularly free eye health services to underserved communities. We also try to provide scholarships and mentorship opportunities to optometry students in Ghana. When I say medical care, though we are focused on like providing free eye health services, we also try to do other forms of medical screening if possible. That's if we have funding. But our major focus is providing free eye health services to underprivileged communities in Ghana. We have a chapter at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, my alma mater,
Mhm.
that tries to reach out to communities in the Ashanti region of Ghana. We recently launched our website just last week, Friday. So
Nice.
if you want to learn more about what we do, the kind of impact we've made so far, please feel free to check us out. So yeah, so basically we reach out to underserved communities to provide care where needed. We try to provide eyeglasses, like eye drops. We try to refer cases that we think needs urgent care. So if we see a case of say cataract that we really can't do anything about, we try to refer the patients to the nearest clinic or the nearest hospital. So we've made some huge impacts, but I believe there's still more to do. There's still more communities to reach out to. So if there's anyone out there who is interested in supporting our work or learning more about what we are doing, I would want to partner with us, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I think that's good to know, and I'll be adding the description on the link for people in the description for people to reach out to
Okay.
you on LinkedIn as well as the link of the website. So everyone, if you want to learn more, if you want to contribute, if you want to support, please do check that link in the description and do reach out to Dr. Samson. I'm sure it's worth just learning about how we all one step at a time, one patient at a time can make an impact and can make a difference. And how when did this Eye Care Network International started? How long have you been
Hmm.
working on this?
It started about 5 years ago when I was in optometry school. Back in optometry school, I had the opportunity to embark on an outreach program with, I don't remember the exact organization that came to Ghana for this outreach, but I had the opportunity to participate in one, and having seen what I saw on the field made me realize that I think there's more to be done. So yeah, I started about 5 years ago with a few colleagues from my class. I told them about the idea I have and what I plan to do, and good for me, they bought into my idea and they supported me from from the very beginning till today. So thank you to them. Moses, Bernard, Greatness, Favor, everybody. I can't remember all the names. I just want to say a very big thank you to all of them. So
To
we've
the
been in
entire
existence for
Eye
almost,
Care
yeah,
Network
almost 5 years
International team,
now.
I think like kudos to what you all are doing and like the way you are providing vision care to the underprivileged. But I think this is really interesting from like trying to find, doing a research on innovative places to also making sure that you are able to provide the basic vision care and eye exams.
Mhm,
I think
mhm.
you're definitely providing care in full spectrum.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. My goal is just simply develop new technologies that we can send to these communities just to help like diagnose their conditions very early. Most of these people don't have access to eye care. They live in very remote communities, so by the time they get to the clinic, most of them present at a very late stage, and usually there's nothing we can do about it. So having the ability to or the opportunity to work on technologies that can help us diagnose conditions very early, even before the patients complain or the patients exhibit any symptom, I think that's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there's so much that you might have learned through this journey. And like, I'm sure, like, from all your research plus this eye exams, especially in developing country, there are so many conditions that we come across and encounter so frequently, which
Mhm.
sometimes are rare in United States, but then you feel like all these conditions need a quick attention just because they're not treated at an early
Mhm.
stage. They've kind of, progressed.
I think, most of the conditions in underserved communities are underdiagnosed. That is what I think. We see high prevalence of a lot of conditions here in the US because they have the right technologies and the expertise and the resources to be able to diagnose them. But because where we come from, we don't have access to all these technologies, we don't see very high prevalence or incidence of these conditions. So we think we don't have some rare diseases or conditions in Africa or in Ghana, but they do exist. But with the right technologies, we'll be able to diagnose them. And
Again, I have this question and I'm just curious, like how does vision care work in Ghana specifically? Like, is it like a cash model? Is it an insurance-based exam? How is vision care in Ghana?
I think there's a combination of insurance and cash model. It depends on where you go.
Okay.
Insurance doesn't cover all aspects of eye care, and
Hmm.
so sometimes you have to pay out of the pocket.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. Like, how the blend is. And for anyone who's listening, if they want to support and learn more, you know who to reach out to now. So if like if we talk about like the research as well as your work at iCare, I'm going to kind of go back to your research and ask you like AI is the big thing that everybody's talking about. So I want to
Mhm.
understand like how do you see AI changing your research world or the work that you do today?
Yeah, we live in a world of AI now, and I think AI is not going to take our work, it's just going to help us make it.
Yes.
The research I'm doing kind of has a component of artificial intelligence and machine learning. The recent publication I made on the utility of alpha missense in diagnosing inherited retinal conditions is one of like the very few applications of AI in eye care. So I think it's just going to help us improve our work. There's no way it's going to take our work. I think it's just going to help us make our work better and like ultimately help us diagnose our patients way better.
I love that. And I completely agree. I by no mere mean that, this is, I think of AI is a tool which is
Mhm.
like going to assist us versus like taking away our jobs. I think it
Yeah.
will help us be more creative.
Mhm.
It will help us expedite the problems that we're trying to solve with the tools that are there. But I think the most important thing is to identifying the gaps, to identifying the problems, to seeing the trends, and then
Mhm.
using these tools to come to a solution. So, yes.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure. I think we've discussed quite a bit about like your work, your research, your
Mhm.
journey back home. We're now going to switch to game segment, which is
Oh, a
called
game segment.
yes. This is something to know you a little better, and it has got nothing to do with eye care much. Okay, it's just about knowing you a little better. So it's a rapid fire. I'll ask you a question. All you have to do is
Oh,
come up with the first answer that you like. It's going to be very
I mean
easy.
the first answer that comes to mind.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll start simple. Tell me your favorite destination.
Seattle.
Okay.
So far, yeah, I've been to a lot of places, but I think yeah, this is the best place I've been to.
Nice. Your favorite food or cuisine that you like?
I like Thai fried rice.
Oh, nice. All right. One thing outside optometry and eye care that people don't know about you.
I play an instrument. I play the guitar.
Oh,
Yeah, people don't know. I don't know, but I don't think people do know.
interesting. Interesting. Are you a coffee person or a tea person?
I'm a tea person.
Tea person?
Yeah,
Okay.
I take coffee, but without milk. No, I just don't like it without milk. Uh,
Okay. If we were to write an autobiography about your journey, what would you like the title to be?
The young man who never gave up.
Love that. I
Yeah,
think you should start writing that right
the
now.
young man who never gave up.
And one habit that changed your life.
I don't know how to give up, so I don't know if that answers the question. I don't give
No,
up.
this works. This works. Like your habit of always going after, like,
Mm-hmm.
finding your way and not giving up. I
Yeah.
think that's great. I think this has been a great rapid fire. That's all that we were trying to
Okay.
learn a little more about you next time we meet. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever that would happen, we'll definitely try to go for a Thai food and share some meal together. And tea is definitely the thing, not coffee without milk. So
Mm-hmm.
noted.
Mm-hmm.
With
Mm-hmm.
that, if you could share one takeaway message for all my listeners.
One huge takeaway is for your listeners is don't give up. You not always feel ready when you want to pursue something. So the moment you have the idea and you have the right support, just go for it. Just go for it. I got admission to this program and I was a bit scared, but I was like inspired by my advisor to just go for it. And I don't regret starting this program at all. So just going for whatever opportunity comes your way, always be prepared as well, because if you're not prepared and opportunity comes, you will not be able to make any impact. So just shoot your shot whenever you get a chance.
Love that. I think that's going to be my mantra for the days that just, go for it in terms of especially when the times are challenging or when you are not sure. For all the listeners, I'll be sharing a LinkedIn profile of Dr. Samson for you to connect with him. I'll also be adding the link of the website for anyone who wants to check out the nonprofit and support his and his team's initiative that they're trying to do in terms of providing vision care in Ghana. With that, once again, Dr. Samson, thank you so much for your time. I really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much, you. It's an honor sharing the same platform with you.
And again, a very warm welcome to the Nari family.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right.